Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to take a first look at the Week 5 NFL slate on Draftkings and Yahoo. We're going to build out an early look lineup, more of a cash game based lineup, really just trying to find guys that stand out early on in the week just based on matchup, maybe price tag, for receivers, running backs, maybe guys that are too cheap, for the volume that they're getting. We'll talk about that at each position. We'll build out a lineup as we do go through each position for DraftKings and for Yahoo. Obviously, this is not the lineup that I'm going to be playing. I don't really give out lineups. That's not something I do. I just like to make this video to kind of talk through the process of what I look for when I'm building out my lineups, just the process of how I do it. Obviously, later on in the week, as the week progresses, I'll have more content available, more updated content, really trying to talk about all the plays that I like. For this video, though, we'll just kind of talk through each position really quickly and really just hit on the guys that stand out to me, early on in the week. But before we do get started, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button as well. I do upload these first look videos every week, usually Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon. I usually get them up. I will have more updated content throughout the week. I'll have videos for the showdown slates, for the Thursday night game, for the Monday night game. I obviously have a more updated video for the main slate. Usually that goes up on Friday. Just kind of talking through each position, really all the guys that I like for Sunday's main slate. So a lot of NFL content coming out throughout the week. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if these videos do really help you, if you want to get more content from me, I have stuff available on Patreon. You can check that out, link down below in the description if that does interest you. Obviously, it's optional, but, if you're interested, the Patreon is linked down below. You can see all that I do have to offer over there, but let's go ahead and take a first look at this Week 5 slate. We'll start off at quarterback. So normally for cash games, at least not this season, but, normally I look to pay down at quarterback. I haven't been doing that much, though, this year. I did pay down for quarterback last week in my main lineup. I played Ryan Fitzpatrick as a value quarterback, and I made sure to talk about him. I'm pretty sure the last 2 weeks before that, though, I was paying up. I know I played like Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, like Kyler Murray, those kind of guys we've been paying up for. This week, though, we do have some good options like in the 6K range. A lot of the guys up top are still expensive. Like Lamar Jackson's in a great spot, but he's $7,900. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to him in cash games this week. You got Mahomes against the Raiders. You got Josh Allen against the Titans. Dak Prescott, in a really good spot once again at home against the Giants. I could see maybe going to him. But the guy that really stood out to me early on in the week, I think this is probably going to be the highest owned quarterback this week if I had to guess. But Matt Ryan's only $6,100 at home against the Panthers. Like, that just seems like a really, really good spot. I know Matt Ryan, this guy can be really frustrating to roster. It seems like whenever I play him, like he just goes out there and completely sucks. So I guess that's your warning. Last year, I know when I played Ryan, like every time I would play him in my main lineup, like he would just go out there and have like a floor game. Look, the dude's burned me in the past, but the spot is so good this week against the Panthers. The price tag is also, really what gets me in. If he was like $6,600, $6,700, I probably wouldn't have as much interest. But at $6,100, that's just too cheap for Matt Ryan in a home game against a bad Panthers defense. For a very, playing for a very pass-heavy Falcons team that's going to throw the ball, 35 to 40 times. If they get behind, like they'll just let Matt Ryan go out there and throw the ball, 45, 50 times. I really like him at $6,100. I think he's kind of like the early look QB for me. At least, as of Tuesday, he's the guy I'm probably going to be building around. We'll have to see throughout the week. Maybe if we get some value, then I can maybe pay up for like Lamar Jackson or pay up for Dak Prescott. But for now, I really like Matt Ryan at $6,100. I do like him a lot on Yahoo as well. I do want to mention that Lamar Jackson, his price has come way down on Yahoo. He's only $36. Like, he's cheaper than Russell Wilson in that Sunday night game. He's cheaper than Murray, Mahomes, Prescott, Allen. Definitely have more interest in Lamar Jackson on Yahoo. I think I will probably be trying to get him into my main lineup, come Sunday. But for now, we'll plug in Matt Ryan over on Yahoo as well because he is also very cheap there. He's only $29. Makes for an easy, guy to target at quarterback, at least in terms of, saving salary. Going to allow us to maybe pay up for some of these stud running backs, stud receivers that have, really high target floors, really high rushing floors, guys like Zeke Elliott, Hopkins. We'll talk about them when we do get to running back and receiver. I mean, there's some other guys though that could be options like Deshaun Watson's in a pretty good spot against the Jags. I think he was really popular last week, and he kind of disappointed. He did come through late in garbage time, managed to finish with 23.9 DK points. He was having a really bad game, though, at the start. I think he had like 4 or 5, I can't remember. It was really low, like 5 or 6 DraftKings points at halftime. And then he came through late in the game, got 2 touchdowns late in the game, got over the 300-yard bonus. So you kind of got lucky with Deshaun Watson. This is still a high upside play, though. A guy that does have, a pretty high floor as well. He does give you a rushing floor. I wouldn't mind him at 6,900, but, Ryan, so much cheaper. I think we'll just kind of plug him in for now. There's really no value that I love at quarterback this week. Like Teddy Bridgewater, I think would probably be the guy I would consider for value. He's 5,900 on the other side of that game. Really good matchup for him against the Falcons. This game between the Falcons and Panthers, I think, is going to be a game that you see, a lot of ownership go to. There's a lot of good plays on both sides. There's multiple guys I like from the Falcons, multiple guys that I like from the Panthers this week. So I definitely have interest in Bridgewater. Don't know if I could play him in cash, though. I just think, Matt Ryan gives you such a higher floor, especially with how pass-heavy that team is. But yeah, that's Daniel Jones, 5,400, really good matchup against the Cowboys. I guess he could be in tournament consideration. He was probably not someone that I would use like in my main lineup, but I could see, stacking him up with maybe Evan Ingram and then running it back with Zeke. Like this game between the Cowboys and Giants, although the Giants are not very good, I think they're still going to be able to put up points against this Cowboys defense. The Cowboys have just really struggled on the defensive end this season. I don't know if much is going to change this week. This is probably the best spot the Cowboys defense is going to get, facing Daniel Jones, a pretty turnover-prone QB, a guy that will take sacks. But still, he's really cheap. It's a good matchup. High total as well. 5,400. I could see using him in tournaments, but, obviously probably not going to be in cash game consideration. So, yeah, I think Matt Ryan's like the clear standout guy this week, at least for me. 6,100 on DK, $29 on Yahoo. Before we move on to running back, I do want to just go ahead and plug in a cheap defense. We can change defense. If we have salary, we can upgrade. If we need to downgrade, we can. I normally, in the first look videos, I just look for a cheap home defense that's maybe facing like a turnover-prone quarterback or just a bad team in general. I think the Texans were the team that really stood out, at home against the Jags. Against Gardner Minshew, a pretty bad Jags offense. I could see, the Texans maybe getting some turnovers here. So we'll just plug them in for now. They are cheap on Yahoo as well. They're actually minimum salary, $10. So we'll just plug in the Texans D. If we have salary at the end, then we can obviously upgrade. But for now, they can just be our placeholder in this first look lineup. But let's go ahead and move on to running back. So I think at running back this week, Ezekiel Elliott is clearly like a guy that just stands out head and shoulders above the rest for me. At least for me. Maybe there's other guys you could consider this week, but most likely I'm going to be building around Zeke. 7,800 on DraftKings. Definitely want to get him into the first look lineup. He's pretty expensive on Yahoo. He's most expensive running back, but I still like him a lot over there as well at $35. Zeke's he's been one of the highest floor plays so far this season. Had a terrible game last week against the Browns, and he still gave you 21 DraftKings points. Like his floor is just so high. They're using him a ton in the pass game this season. 8 targets last week, 11 targets the week before that, 7 targets, 4 targets, still getting his normal, 15 to 20 carries. He only got 12 carries last week, but still, even when they were playing from behind, they made sure to get Zeke involved in the passing game. Like, even in games where he's not scoring touchdowns, he's still giving you 15 to 20 DraftKings points just based on yards and catches alone. There's going to be a game, though, where Zeke gets, multiple touchdowns and puts up 30, 35 DK points. I think it probably could come this week here at home against the Giants. Fantastic spot for Zeke. Home favorite. Really, all the boxes are checked. He's still too cheap as well. Like, I don't know why Zeke's only 7,800. This is a guy that should be priced up, around like 9K. He should be priced up there, when Christian McCaffrey's healthy. He should be priced up there with Christian McCaffrey. So I'm for sure going to be playing Zeke this week, 100%. I don't see really any way to get off of him, especially not in like cash games. He's going to be really popular, but I think, this is chalk that you probably just want to eat and then kind of move on. Really don't want to get cute here. So love Zeke. Derrick Henry, for tournaments, you can always play Derrick Henry, but I don't know if this is a spot where I'm going to be playing him like in cash games against the Bills. I think, it comes down to which one of these 6K guys do you want to pair with Zeke, because I think you are going to be able to get, at least one of these two in. If not, you could play two of these guys, one of them in the flex. So there was a couple that stood out to me in the 6K range. James Robinson against Houston. James Robinson just continues to get, massive volume, good work in the passing game as well. I could see using him at 6,700. Mike Davis against the Falcons. Like, Mike Davis has actually been really, really good since Christian McCaffrey went down. Like, the last 2 games that he has started for McCaffrey, he's put up 23 and 22 Draftkings points, getting great volume in the passing game. 9 targets, 6 targets the last 2 weeks, getting, 12 to 15 carries. Pretty much has like a 20-touch floor. Like, he's getting 20 touches every week, if not more. Now he gets a great matchup against the Falcons. Great game environment, high-scoring game. I think Mike Davis looks really good this week. Kareem Hunt, I want to mention, with Nick Chubb now on IR, I think Kareem Hunt is going to get a massive workload. I know that wasn't the case last week, but a lot of that had to do with the Browns, having a big lead. They really didn't need to push Kareem Hunt with that big lead, especially because he was dealing with, I think, a groin injury heading into that game. He still played through it, but they just really didn't need to push him when they were winning by, 2 touchdowns pretty much the entire game. This week, though, should be more competitive against the Colts. The Colts do have a very good defense, but Kareem Hunt should just be looking at massive volume this week. We know he's a great pass catcher. They will use him in the passing game. I like him a lot. I think at 6,500, even though his price is kind of up there, he still has so much volume. Like, his volume is just going to be so secure with Nick Chubb out. Dearness Johnson, I think he got like 12 or 13 carries last week. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. Kareem Hunt should be their workhorse guy. We saw it was kind of like a 60-40 split between Chubb and Hunt whenever Chubb was healthy. I don't think it's going to be like a 60-40 split between Hunt and Johnson. I think it's more going to be like 70-30, maybe even 80-20. I do expect Hunt to have a pretty big workload this week. Should be involved in the passing game. Has a path to 20-plus touches. At 6,500, I like him a lot, especially because, he's so involved in the passing game, which is something we really look for on DraftKings with it being full PPR scoring. Hunt's way too cheap on Yahoo as well, all the way down here at $18. Going to be really hard to get away from him at that price tag, especially with, Nick Chubb now out this week. So love Kareem Hunt on both sides. I think he's definitely a guy I'm going to be looking to get, with Zeke Elliott. And then for the flex spot, normally I look to play 3 running backs in cash games in my main lineup. I think that is going to be the case this week. There are a lot of good running back plays. I talked about Mike Davis. I don't know if we're going to be able to get Mike Davis into our DraftKings build, but I do like him a lot on Yahoo, and he is very easy to get over there. He's only $19 on Yahoo. Like, he's also way too cheap over there. We talked about how good he's been without Christian McCaffrey. Definitely going to play Mike Davis. I think Zeke, Hunt, and Davis look like the 3 clear running backs I want to build around on Yahoo. And I think if I can get Davis in on DraftKings, I'll probably be trying to do so. But there are some other guys I do want to talk about for cheaper in this 5K range. Even dropping down, I could see going to Jonathan Taylor against the Browns, 6,200. Feel a little bit better with Davis, but, Taylor's fine. Don't mind him. Joe Mixon's coming off a huge game. I like Joe Mixon a lot last week, but this is probably a spot where I'm going to be off him against the Ravens. Just, doesn't seem like a spot where I really want to play Joe Mixon. I mean, Kenyon Drake against the Jets, that's a good matchup, but Kenyon Drake, like, he's just so hard to trust right now. Don't really know if we can go there. Todd Gurley, I actually do have some interest in this week at home against probably the worst run defense in the league, the Panthers. The Panthers are a team we definitely want to attack with opposing running backs. Great spot for Gurley, 5,700. I could see using him even in cash games. David Johnson, though, like, he was the one guy that stood out to me, at least, when I first pulled up the slate. At home, only 5,200 against the Jaguars. Like, I know David Johnson has kind of been frustrating this season. Like, his volume's still been there. 18 touches last week, 15, 13, 14. Like, he's getting anywhere from like 15 to 18 touches. He's not getting like massive volume. He's not getting 25 plus touches. But at 5,200, it's not like we need that kind of volume. Even if he gets 13, 14 carries, maybe 3, 4 catches, like, that could be enough at 5,200, especially against a Jaguars defense that we saw last week got absolutely torched by Joe Mixon. I like the spot a lot for David Johnson. With Bill O'Brien getting fired, is that a good thing for David Johnson? I'm not really sure. Honestly, it might be a bad thing because Bill O'Brien, it seemed like this dude just always wanted to run the ball. Could be a bad thing, but, in the end, David Johnson is still the number 1 running back for the Texans. I know they have Duke Johnson, but, David Johnson is still their guy, overall. Going to get most likely going to get the goal line carries as well. Feel like at 5,200, his path for paying off this price tag is pretty easy. Feel like it's very likely he's able to at least get, 14, 15 DK points and, return good value at 5,200. Does he have like 30, 35 point upside? Probably not, but at 5,200, it's not like you really need that, especially not for cash. So really like David Johnson. I think, we talked about guys like Zeke, Hunt, David Johnson, Mike Davis. There's some other ones I mentioned. Like, those are the kind of guys that really stand out to me early on in the week, at least like for cash games, high floor running backs, getting a lot of volume, still too cheap. Those are the guys I feel like I'm going to be building around. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, did want to mention him. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play him because I think I want to get Kareem Hunt over him. Maybe that's a hot take, but I do really like Kareem Hunt this week. I think Edwards-Helaire might honestly be higher owned, but I'd be fine playing Hunt even at lower ownership in cash games. Normally you want to play the higher owned guy because it's just the safest route, especially like in double ups, but I think Hunt's upside is just through the roof, even in a tough matchup. So that's just my thoughts there. If you could go maybe Zeke, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Hunt, that could obviously be a way to go, but you're going to be pretty thin with the rest of your lineup. You're going to have to play some really cheap receivers, and there are some viable cheap receivers we'll talk about. But for now, we'll just plug in, David Johnson as our flex running back in the 5K range. So let's go ahead and move on to receiver. We'll take a look at the receiver position this week. Since we paid up for Zeke, since we got Kareem Hunt in there, it's probably going to be tough to pay up for one of these, expensive receivers. I think, Calvin Ridley looks really good this week against the Panthers. I do want to talk about both Atlanta receivers, Ridley and Julio. So Julio, if he plays, I think at 6,800, I'm going to be trying to find a way to get him into my main lineup. I know the injury concerns are obviously pretty high right now. Even if Julio plays, will he get hurt again? It's a possibility. He played Monday night, but only played, I believe, the first half, and then he got hurt, did not return. It looks like he re-injured his hamstring, so we'll just have to keep an eye on this. Assuming Julio is able to go, not limited, I like him a lot at 6,800. I think pairing him with Matt Ryan in cash games is honestly viable this week. I have no problems with that. Obviously, if Julio's out, though, Calvin Ridley would get a boost, and it would be a guy I'd want to try and pay up for. It is much easier to pay up for one of these two guys on Yahoo because the pricing on Yahoo is just way softer. You have good salary to work with. Kareem Hunt's so cheap. The Texans' defense is minimum salary. We can still get in one of these two guys. Obviously, between the two, I have really, I like both a lot. I think I'd probably lean with Julio, but because he's questionable, since we don't know if he's going to play, I'll plug in Calvin Ridley for now. I know Ridley's more expensive on Yahoo, but I like the spot so much for both these two guys. This Panthers secondary is just so bad. Matt Ryan, Julio, Ridley, these guys should have a field day this week. I love stacking up this game. I think there's, so many good plays. You can stack up Ryan and Ridley, run it back with Mike Davis, stack up Ryan and Julio, run it back with Davis, run it back with maybe Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore. Just so many viable options. Love Julio, love Ridley. Probably just plug in Ridley for now on Yahoo just because, he's not questionable. We know he's going to play. If, though, throughout the week we do get updates on Julio and we get, word that he's going to be full go, I think jamming him in with Matt Ryan does make a ton of sense because Julio, he is way too cheap this week, 6,800. That's just too cheap of a price tag for, a guy playing at home against this bad Panthers secondary. But yeah, we're probably going to have to look more down to the 6K range. I do like Will Fuller a lot this week against the Jags. He is kind of priced up, though, on DraftKings at 6,600. But I do want to mention him on Yahoo. He is really cheap over there. He's only $19. I liked Will Fuller a lot last week, and I'm definitely going to be on him once again this week, especially at his Yahoo salary of $19. That's just too cheap for Will Fuller. Still the number one receiver on this team. Going to get pretty good volume. Got 7 targets last week. When this guy's healthy, he has massive upside, and we could see another big game from him this week against a pretty bad Jaguar secondary. Definitely a beatable Jaguar secondary. Big total here, 54 total in this game. I like Will Fuller a ton. I think he's too cheap on Yahoo at $19. Definitely stands out early on in the week over there. On DraftKings, he's probably more of a tournament play. I don't think I would be able to get to him in my main lineup at 6,600. If he was cheaper, he'd probably be in consideration for cash, but more of a tournament option, at that expensive price. But then getting down to 6K and below, this is where I think we have a lot of viable cash plays, at least, some guys that stand out to me early on in the week. I think both DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are in consideration for cash games. So far, Robbie Anderson has actually been the wide receiver 1 for the Panthers. He's actually getting the most volume. He's been Teddy Bridgewater's go-to guy. 8 targets, 10 targets, 5 targets, 11 targets. He has double-digit target potential. And against this Falcons secondary, a bad Falcons defense, I actually like Robbie Anderson a ton this week. I played DJ Moore in cash, and I thought that was the right play last week. And although DJ Moore was disappointing against the Cardinals, I wouldn't mind going back to him this week. But I just love what I'm seeing from Robbie Anderson so far. I love the correlation, the connection that he's getting with Teddy Bridgewater. And against this Falcons defense, a bad Falcons team, high total game, I like Robbie Anderson a lot. I think you can definitely play him on Yahoo as well. He is pretty nicely priced over there. I think he is $21 last time I checked. Yeah, he's $21. There are some other guys in that price range that you could look to, like CeeDee Lamb is the same price. So obviously you could go with CeeDee Lamb there. Even DJ Moore is cheaper on Yahoo, so maybe more is more appealing there. He's $19. Definitely like either one of those guys. I really have no problems with either one. But Robbie Anderson on DraftKings, I like him a lot at $5,900. CeeDee Lamb though, I do like a lot as well at $6K. Like CeeDee Lamb, he's been the number 2 receiver for the Cowboys. He's pretty much been what I thought Michael Gallup was going to be. Like Michael Gallup has definitely taken a step back this season, and CeeDee Lamb has just looked so good, getting consistent volume every week. 6 targets, 9 targets, 7 targets, 7 targets. Getting good looks in the red zone as well. He did catch a touchdown in the red zone last week. He did have a long touchdown reception as well. And this Cowboys offense is just so explosive. We know they're going to put up points. It's a fantastic matchup at home against the Giants. Like, we are definitely going to want to have exposure to this Cowboys team, whether that's with Dak, with the receivers, or with Zeke. I honestly wouldn't mind playing like Lamb and Zeke together in cash games, even without Dak, because I think you could see Lamb put up a solid score for his price tag. Obviously, Zeke can get there. Even if Dak has a bad game, we could still see Zeke, put up like 25, 30 DK points. So I do like CeeDee Lamb a lot at 6K. I think we can definitely plug him in to the first look lineup. I do prefer him over Michael Gallup. Maybe for tournaments, Michael Gallup could be the better play because he's going to be pretty low owned. His game log just doesn't look very pretty. Last week, really disappointing game. Had a huge game week 3 against Seattle, but hasn't done much since then. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb is a safer play. Tournament-wise, though, if you wanted to play Michael Gallup in tournaments for the lower ownership, I wouldn't mind that either. Do like CeeDee Lamb a lot on Yahoo, and I think it comes down between Robbie Anderson, CeeDee Lamb, or DJ Moore for that last spot. Really you can go with either one, either of these guys. Lamb for 21, Anderson's 21, DJ Moore's 19. I think for now we'll just plug in CeeDee Lamb at 21. I really don't mind either one. I guess since we have Mike Davis, probably don't want to play Robbie Anderson there as well. Whereas I wouldn't mind playing like a running back and a receiver from the same team. Like I wouldn't mind playing Zeke and Lamb together. I don't know if I'd want Robbie Anderson and Mike Davis together in cash games. Anderson probably more of a tournament play on Yahoo, whereas Lamb I think is cash viable. I think DJ Moore, since he's cheaper, probably makes more sense on Yahoo as well. Definitely like Anderson overall though, and at $5,900 on DK, I think even if he's lower owned, I wouldn't mind playing him in cash games because I just think his volume is pretty secure in this offense. He's getting the targets, which is what we want. So really like CeeDee Lamb, Robbie Anderson, a couple of guys that stand out in the mid range. Before we fill out this last spot, I do want to move on to tight end, talk about the tight end position this week. So obviously we're not going to be able to pay up for tight end in this first look lineup, but you could always pay up for George Kittle, Travis Kelce. Like, these guys have such high floors, such high ceilings. We saw that Sunday night with Kittle getting 43 DraftKings points, 15 catches, 183 yards, and a touchdown. Like, this is the kind of upside that George Kittle has. When this guy's healthy, he's a top 2 tight end in the league without a doubt. He honestly might be the best tight end in the league. Against the Dolphins, I wouldn't expect George Kittle to struggle much this week, but there are some good values at tight end, and I think tight end's normally a position I want to go cheap at, and that's for sure going to be the case this week. So if we do scroll down, to this 5K, 4K range, I think Jonnu Smith against the Bills actually could be interesting for $4,900. I'm pretty sure the Bills are going to be without one of their starting linebackers, which should make it a little bit of a better spot for Jonnu Smith. He's been pretty consistent this season, getting good volume. I could see going to him in cash at $4,900. Dalton Schultz, assuming he's able to play, I could see using against the Giants. Hayden Hurst against the Panthers for $4,700. I also have interest in. But Evan Ingram, he was the guy that really stood out to me. I know Evan Ingram, the game log is not pretty. He's not been good this season, but the volume is just so secure. Still getting, good volume every week. 7 targets, 8 targets, double-digit targets last week against the Rams. Like, eventually Evan Ingram is going to put up a big game, and I think it could come this week against a really, easy-to-beat Cowboys defense. High-scoring game, should be a shootout. If the Giants can keep up with the Cowboys, like, this game has the potential to just be, complete shootout, go over. I'm not even sure what the total is right now. Let me actually take a look at that real quick. Let me see. So this game has a 54 total, so yeah, I could see it going over as long as the Giants can actually put up some points here. And if that's the case, like I am definitely going to want some exposure to this Giants side. I don't think I'm going to be like stacking up a ton of Giants. I doubt I'm playing like 3 or 4 Giants in one lineup, but definitely want to get some exposure. And I think Evan Ingram at 4,600, like in my opinion, this is still one of the best tight ends in the league. He's a top 5, top 10 tight end in the league. For fantasy, he should be much better than he's been so far this year. He's still playing a ton of snaps, running a ton of routes, going to get a ton of looks, and this is probably the best matchup that he's had all season, the best game environment that the Giants have been in. I really like Evan Ingram at 4,600. I think he makes a lot of sense as a value tight end this week. He's one of the guys that really stood out to me, early on. He is very cheap on Yahoo, and he does fit in perfectly into our, final lineup here. He's $15. Really like Evan Ingram over on Yahoo as well. So that's what I'm liking for Yahoo. Feel pretty good about that lineup, at least early on in the week. As a placeholder for now, I think that lineup does look pretty good. Now, before we fill out that last receiver spot, going back to tight end, if you didn't want to go to Evan Ingram, there are some other guys. Like Mo Alley-Cox has actually been pretty involved, been getting a ton of looks in the red zone, gets a really good matchup this week against a Browns team that, has really struggled to tight ends this season. He has scored in, both of their last 2 games. I could see going to Mo Alley-Cox, but probably more for tournaments. I don't know if I'd consider him like a cash game play. Logan Thomas, he's been a guy that I've just lost a ton of money on this season. I felt like I've just playing him every week. I don't think I'm going to be on him this week though, so he'll probably put up a monster game. I just feel better with guys like Evan Ingram, Hayden Hurst, Jonnu Smith, Dalton Schultz. Like these are the kind of guys I'm probably wanting to get to. I don't think I'm going to be completely punting the tight end position. I think I do want to try and get to one of those guys in the 4K range. And right now, Evan Ingram is my favorite at 4,600. But looking at receiver, for this last receiver spot, there's a lot of ways we could go here. We got Deebo Samuel we could play at 5,300. Like I said earlier, if we wanted to downgrade a defense, we could. Like we could downgrade a defense and then maybe play like A.J. Brown, assuming he's able to play this week. It looks like he is going to be able to play. 5,400, even in a tough matchup against the Bills, that's probably still too cheap of a price tag for A.J. Brown. We could maybe downgrade a defense and get up to like maybe Julian Edelman or something. We do have some options, though, we could maybe consider in this 5K range. Like Russell Gage, honestly, I don't mind at 5,100. Especially like if Julio winds up out this week, I think Russell Gage like actually would probably be a cash game play at 5,100. Without Julio, if he were to be out, I would assume Russell Gage would be the number 2 receiver. I know he was, disappointing in week 3 with Julio out, but that was kind of a tough spot against the Bears. This is probably the best spot besides week 2. Like this is probably the best spot the Falcons have been in all season. Going back home to face a very bad Panthers team, very bad Panthers defense. I actually like Russell Gage quite a bit at 5,100, and I'm going to like him even more if Julio winds up out. Like his volume is actually pretty secure in this offense. I know he's been bad the last 2 weeks, but this is a guy that, totaled 21 targets through their first 2 games, got 12 targets week 1, 9 targets week 2. I think that volume is going to come back at some point. He's still playing a ton of snaps, still running a ton of routes, and if Julio comes into this game banged up, or if Julio winds up missing this game and is not able to play, I actually like Russell Gage a lot at 5,100, and I think, either one of Gage or Ridley, we're probably going to want to try and get in with Matt Ryan. Even, in cash games, I wouldn't mind stacking those guys up together. So definitely fine with plugging in Russell Gage for now. We can obviously make some adjustments as the week goes on. If we get word that Julio's going to be full go and going to play and not going to be limited, then obviously I'm going to be trying to get in Julio at 6,800. But because we don't know much on his status right now, I'm just fine plugging in Gage for now. And if Julio winds up out, then obviously Gage would get a boost there. But yeah, guys, this is what I'm liking, early on in the week, at least as of Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday morning when I'm recording this video. This is kind of what stands out to me as of Tuesday. As the week goes on, I will have more updated content on the channel. I'll have my full breakdown going up Friday. I'll have videos up for the showdown slates as well if you're planning to play those. So make sure you're staying tuned into all the content that's coming out throughout the week. If you did enjoy this video, guys, be sure to hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do enjoy these videos, if they really help you, you can get more content from me available on Patreon. That is linked down below for those of you that are interested. You can check out the Patreon and see all that I do have to offer over there. But Best of luck this week, guys. Be sure to stay tuned for all the content that I'm going to be posting throughout the week. Have more videos up throughout the week. Be sure to check out those as well. Good luck this week, though, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.